Yeah, I'm James Stevens. I'm a retired engineering and building contractor. And tonight or today, I want to talk about the contractor you hire. I have a website, it's called buildingpermits.info, and I'm writing stuff and putting it on there. Don't build anything that requires a building permit without getting a building permit. If you have a contractor that comes to you and he says, I want you to get the building permit, I'll do all the work, I'll draw the plans, I'll do everything, he probably doesn't have insurance. His contractor's license may not be valid. There's all kinds of things that contractors do. They want to work, but they don't want to do what has to be done to be legal. I just finished getting permits for a job that was built 10 years ago. We don't go by the code of 10 years ago. We go by the Uniform Building Code that was adopted. It's called the 2016 Building Code, and it was adopted January 1st, 2017 by most of the building departments, the local cities, and it's very restrictive. There's a lot of new energy requirements, and you have to comply with them. And we basically had to tear the place apart and do destructive testing and do a lot of extra work. It cost the homeowner about $15,000 because they didn't get a $900 building permit. I know a lot of cities, another thing a contractor will do, they'll say, I'm on the West Coast in California, and our cities along the coast are pretty restrictive, and they have a reason for that. It's for safety for the people who are going to live in that house. All of the cities pretty much require the plans to be done in a certain way. If the plans are done in a certain way, you get a structural engineer, he signs off on it. The electrical plan, the plumbing plan, all of that's done properly. It does not take a long time to go through plan check. If the contractor in any way wants to get around this, I recommend that you don't use them. Even if they're your son-in-law or your uncle or whatever, because it can cause problems later. A lot of people think they can do interior remodeling without getting a permit because nobody will notice. But when you go to sell the house, all your house is on public record now, all of it. And you're going to have two inspectors come in. One's going to be working for the seller and one's going to be working for the buyer, and they're both going to write up a report, and it goes to the state offices in that state and the building department. I'm telling you, I'm warning you, I'm being emphatic about it. Don't do it without a permit. I wouldn't even put a water heater in without a permit. Very inexpensive permit. Guy comes out, he checks it out, make sure that it's done properly. Now there's another reason. Your liability insurance from your insurance provider for homeowners insurance has a clause in there that says something to the effect, if you do alterations to your home without a permit and something happens, it's an outlet for them not to pay off. There's a lot of reasons to get a permit, and there's no reasons to not get a permit. All right, I don't know how to judge contractors. I work with a lot of them. I have a select few that I like. Some of them are all tatted out, tattoos. They look weird and all that, but they're geniuses. They know what they're doing. They do it right. They're high quality people when they do their work. I don't know what they do when they're not doing the job, but I know what they're doing on the job. And I like everything to be precise. I like to see the framing look like it grew there. I like to see the plumbing be all straight and narrow. Same thing with the electrical. I like to see it all look good. If it looks good, it's probably going to perform good, especially if they follow the plans. Okay? And what I really want to talk about, I talked about mold on the other video. What I want to talk about now is water intrusion. That's kind of like what I do, sort of. Water gets into your house, can come through the stucco. Underneath the stucco is a paper or a paper product or some kind of a membrane that shields the wood or the steel framing from water. Stucco's not waterproof. Stone's not waterproof. Concrete's not waterproof. Your roof tile's not waterproof. Your house is covered with a membrane. Okay, here's what happens. Water gets onto the membrane, and it flows down to the bottom. At the bottom, like in stucco, there's a thing called a stucco screed, and it's a piece of metal. It's about 6 inches wide, very thin metal, and it's tacked all the way along or screwed or nailed to the bottom plate, and it has holes in it. And that membrane laps over the flat part of this stucco screed, and the water can get out. Now, I've been on jobs where the house is moldy, and a brand new house, nobody's living there, and they can't figure out why. And the plasterers have plastered up the holes on the ground. The holes that let the water out. And then the water can penetrate the membrane at some point and cause mold and mildew. Water can come in through the lamps on the outside, water can come through the doors, water can come through the windows. Years ago we had a waterproofing flashing around windows and doors. It was called Sizzlecraft. Sizzlecraft was made out of a 2 or 3 or 4 layer paper, and at the time I was a carpenter, and we used copper flashing. So I knew how to use copper flashing. One of the tools I carried was a tin snips, and that was kind of my job. A lot of guys didn't like to do it, and I was young, so I got the job. So I was very proficient at it. And when the Sizzlecraft was invented, it came in a roll, and you just cut it with scissors. It was just a piece of paper, and you tacked it up with staples, like stapling paper. It was wonderful. I could do a window in 1/4 the time. Fast forward a few years later, and this stuff started to disintegrate. Water started to come in. There was over $1 billion in California over a 12 or 15 year period of lawsuits for water intrusion that got through window flashing. I'm not saying it's all Sizzlecraft's fault or anybody's fault. You know, it's a product, it's a building product. Now they're using bituthene, which is a rubber-like product, sticky on one side. Stuff's almost bulletproof. Water really can't penetrate it. So there's been a lot of advances in that. The Uniform Building Code, and I'm trying to figure out a way to get some of these things on the web. You can buy the Uniform Building Code. It's like, I don't know, it's 2 volumes. I have 2 volumes. I think I paid $65 or $85 a piece for each volume. It wasn't that much. But now the new building code has drawings, engineered drawings of different things, and you know, a homeowner doesn't want to do that. A homeowner wants to go out and buy a car. They go out and buy a car. Car's all assembled. It's sitting there. It's ready to get in and drive. Well, it's not like a room addition. There's probably as many parts in the house as are in the car. There's a lot of parts. But they don't want to deal with that. They want to go to work, sell couches or sell cars or whatever they do, fly an airplane, but they don't want to get involved in their room addition. And I'll tell you, you get somebody like me on the job, or you do it yourself, and it's not that hard. And when you're doing your room addition or building a new building, make sure that the waterproofing is tight and secure. Everything else will be okay, because we've got really good inspectors, especially out here in California. I have a deep respect for these guys. We used to have like an electrical inspector and a plumbing inspector and a framing inspector and a concrete inspector. We don't do that anymore. We got one guy that comes out, and he's so well versed, he understands the building code. So he knows if it's wired right, or if the plumbing's right. Those kind of things aren't a problem. The guys who inspect the outside are good. They're probably the same guy, and they know how it should be done. So there shouldn't be a problem, but I do inspection on homes. I don't do home inspection like when you're buying a house. I do another kind of inspection, and I do destructive testing. I take the thing apart, we look at it, we detail it out, we find out what's wrong. I'm just trying to warn the public about waterproofing, and you know, this thing about the weep screed is interesting because it can cause, by not applying weep screed properly, but in the code it has to be 4 inches above soil, earth, and 2 inches above a hard surface, concrete, tile. There's a reason for it, so the water can get out from behind the stucco or the brick wall or whatever's being built. Okay, I'm Jim Stevens. Please subscribe. If you like this video, turn on notifications for new information videos, and visit my website at buildingpermit.info. The girls want me to memorize this, but I'm too old.